How about the goodness from this week? That's what I'm thinking. There goes the drinks trolley. If only Susie can make deliveries all around the UK, that would be a wonderful thing, wouldn't it, really? What delights are you serving up tonight?
Well, I thought we'd go with a very tasty Lemonata Sour from Holy Goat Brewing, based in Dundee in Scotland. It's a collab with New Barnes Brewery. It's made with Spanish lemons, so I thought Matt would like this. From Comares in Spain.
Comares, probably.
Yeah, that one.
That'll do.
It's 5.4%, and it's sold in a bottle as well, so it's quite nice and different.
Very good. Okay, that sounds rather... Is it sparkling or...?
Not sparkling, but it's sour. So
okay. Yeah. Could you bring one up next time you...
I will do.
Yeah, that's very good. Today's confession comes from Sister Goldenhair. Thank you, Sister Goldenhair. Father Simon, Matt, Sister Holly, Susie and the crew. I have followed the monks on the internet walking from Fort Worth en route, and their peace walk is now halfway to Washington, D.C. Have you seen these?
No, the monks are walking to Washington.
Yes, they're walking for peace, something like that.
Good for them.
And Sister Goldenhair says, it reminds me of my travels as a backpacker in the late 90s. I was in my 20s and I attended a 10-day silent meditation retreat at a beautiful Thai Buddhist silent meditation retreat.
Wow.
That was obviously the place to go. Sorry, Matt, what was that?
No, do carry on.
Anyway,
Sounds great.
It was hot springs in Thailand and it was lovely food. The monks at this retreat are also of the same tradition of the forest monks with their coloured robes and everything. Same type doing the meditation practice, the ones that are doing the march in America.
The same monks?
They're the same monks. Or the same discipline, or got the same colour
Very
robes.
busy. Anyway, yeah.
It's them.
Yes.
Like the peace monks, it is in their agreement, these Thai monks where I was staying, as a monk to follow certain rules, including celibacy, non-violent action, vegetarianism, and all those kind of things. One of the precepts, if you listen very carefully, you can hear Matt harumphing as we go. One of the precepts or rules of the monks on this 10-day silent retreat was being silent. And I had to be silent. That's why it was called a silent retreat.
Yeah.
But this is one of the things that I was most worried about, as like my dad, I'm a ferocious talker. So the only chance we got to talk in 10 days was to go to a discussion with the monks where we could ask questions. So I would attend regularly just to get the chance to talk, but also to know, I got to know the monks. And I noticed when I attended this session, there was always another young woman who would also ask questions to the same monk that I did. This is because he was a hot monk.
Oh, really?
It's not an official category.
Wow.
Part of the practice of the meditation retreat was sitting for long periods of time and being silent in a meditation hall that had open sides to open to all the elements. You'd have had a great time.
This sounds great.
Yeah.
Yes, no, carry on.
I found the whole chanting thing rather full on, to be honest. So I would think of the lovely monk who I would ask questions to in the discussion time and what I would ask him next. And then, being a little distracted because I was thinking about the hot monk, I suddenly saw something jump out at me from nowhere. It was a tree frog, and I screamed and I broke the silence as I tried to brush the frog off. With everyone trying to ignore the commotion, I sensed their disapproval. Silence means silence.
Yeah.
But if a tree frog jumps out of you, what are you supposed to do? After this interaction and my rising hormones, I decided I needed to express my voice very clearly. Yes, I'd agreed to be silent. However, I knew that if I didn't make any noise, I would disrupt the rest of the silent meditators. So the retreat was within a certain boundary, and I looked at the map. I know this woman is not really equipped for this kind of silent retreat, I don't think. I knew if I went off-piste, so to speak, I wouldn't be abiding to the basic rules of the silent retreat. We weren't supposed to go beyond these boundaries. But on a lovely sunny day, I found my freedom from the boundaries of the meditation retreat, and I went temporarily AWOL into the Thai countryside. And immediately, some Thai tourists stopped and started speaking at me. And I put my hand up to my mouth and I did the silent pose.
Oh, yes. That one. With a hand up to the mouth.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
They didn't get what I thought was the intentional shush. Anyway, I'm not getting the vibes. Anyway, I said I'm English and I'm not supposed to be speaking and I don't speak Thai. Off you go.
Oh, right.
Much to my relief and their bemusement, they moved on. Then I found some cows.
Then I found some cows.
Then I found some cows and they mooed at me, and in exchange I found myself breaking into song and dance, singing the Culture Club song Karma Chameleon, which seemed appropriate.
I'm quite mad.
I told
Quite mad. Yeah, anyway, go on.
I told the cows all about the hot monk.
Wow. Dear, oh dear.
I told the
How much
cows.
was this? Anyway, go
I
on.
told the cows about the hot monk, and this really helped. They appeared quite. Get control of yourself. They appeared quite wise to me. Maybe Thai cows are like that.
Yeah.
After singing a few verses and the cows nodding along in understanding, I thought it was time to go back to the silent retreat. Me being somewhat released at using my vocal cords, and the rest of the retreat being none the wiser for my temporary escape and use of my voice, it wasn't until after the meditation retreat that we got to meet the monks again. I found that the fellow monk fan from the daily discussion group also had the hots for the same monk. Both of us were quite disappointed though, as we weren't even allowed to hug him. This seemed a little bit fair. However, I think I had broken the rules by 1, screaming about the frog, 2, singing to the cows, and 3, flirting with the hot monk.
Yes.
It seems quite apt to ask forgiveness to Father Simon and all you brothers and sisters, and for having intentions towards a monk who'd already taken a vow of celibacy.
Yeah.
Anyway, but you know, it's basically if you go on one of these things and it's in Thailand, you don't know what's going to happen, do you? Anyway, Sister Goldenhair says, peace be with you all. Sister Susie, what do you say?
Well, Sister Goldenhair, these things, Matt is going to hate it, but you have to treat them quite seriously. There's a discipline involved, and
She didn't have any. She had no discipline.
She didn't have any discipline, like just even breaking the rules by going out the boundaries. She broke the rules by not being silent, and I think just using the discussion points as a point to talk probably suggests that maybe she didn't have it cut out for her. But I just think very, very funny, Sister Goldenhair, but you should have taken it seriously. The monks were there, they took it seriously. If you were going to do it properly, or don't do it.
If there's a hot monk, I mean, what are you going to do?
What are you going to do? Yeah, I mean, he's the one that's taken the vow of celibacy. She's okay flirting with. That's fine, isn't it? And the other one, she's okay doing it. So yeah, no, I'm going to forgive because I don't think she did anything wrong. I mean, all she was doing. She didn't talk to the tourists, did she? She was talking to the cows. They're not going to tell her that.
It's against the rules.
Fine. Well, it's fine. I'm going to say that talking to cows. I'm pretty sure on the small print it'll say something about talking to cows is fine if you're paying the money, which I doubt she was. So yeah, and hot monk all sounds good. So yeah, for all those reasons, I'm going to forgive. Apart from the vegetarianism.
610, is that the worst thing?
That was the worst thing.
61054, first word is Simon. Just before the news, we had a confession from Sister Goldenhair about a 10-day silent retreat in Thailand, a hot monk, some wise cows, and a deadly tree frog who attacked her when she wasn't expecting it. Anyway, the people's verdict is in. Here we go.
Not forgiven, says James in Portsmouth. Why was she even there in the first place? Surely you ease yourself into silent meditation. Try a day without talking, that kind of thing. A whole retreat seems quite long. John, though, says forgiven. Her screaming due to the frog was a gut reaction. You can't control that. And talking to the cows is completely fine. She wasn't talking to people on the retreat, so it all sounds fine to me. And Dawn in Bournemouth says forgiven. Hot monk sounds fantastic. Ultimately, she didn't interrupt the silent retreat, so no harm done.
Thank you for all the responses. Thank you for the verdicts. And thank you for your confessions. Keep them coming, please. Confessions at greatesthitsradio.co.uk. 13 minutes to 6 o'clock. Well, good evening. This is Greatest Hits Radio. And as the drinks trolley trundles past, Sue, select something from the pub. What have we got here?
I've gone with a very nice red today. It's Australian Shiraz, mostly Shiraz grapes, but there's a few other grapes in there, so it's quite light, drinkable. It's called Half Full by Jumping Juice.
And it's drinkable. Okay, that's
very, very drinkable.
Okay. Thank you very much. Like a bit of a Shiraz every now and again. I think Matthew does as well.
Yeah, don't we all?
Yes,
that's true.
He doesn't know what that is.
No.
Okay. Thank you very much for today's selection. And today's confession comes from Mike. Simon and your learned gathering. Back in the days of yore, when my trusty steed was a Mark IV Cortina, I travelled the highways and byways of merry old England, Kent and South East London anyway, as a building society surveyor. Basically, my job was to tell the building society how much the bricks and mortar were worth. Sometimes I was the bearer of good news, but occasionally I had no choice but to burst the owner's bubble and inject a tad of reality, if you get my drift. So, for example, I pulled up outside a village pub looking for Ivy Cottage. I got out of the car. I went to interrogate the landlord, local pub, and the local postie walks in. Any idea where I might find Ivy Cottage, I say. Sure, mate, it's just there. He points over the road, and there was a row of parked cars and a yellow skip. Sorry, that doesn't look as though there's a cottage. Oh, no, it's there. It's all in the skip. It caught fire and burnt to the ground last month.
Right.
It had been estimated at £500,000, so I had to make a few alterations at that point.
Yes.
Because the reality did not meet what was written down on the paper. Anyway, so here we go. I turned up one morning outside a large Victorian terraced house in Greenwich. Dark green door, large brass knocker, and bay windows, all looking good so far. As was often the case, I had to pick up a key first from the selling agent who couldn't be bothered to meet me at the property. A large black cat was there to greet me, sitting on the mat and looking as if it owned the place. I moved said feline out of the way as I unlocked the door and slowly pushed it open far enough for me to squeeze through without letting Moggy in. Well, I was a fairly big lad and a darn sight wider than Felix, who then shot past me like a rocket. Not only had I my job to do, which was going to take some time, I was going to have to track down the intruder cat and expel it. Having closed the door behind me, I crossed the geometric tiled floor to the hall side table, upon which a note had been left from the owner, addressed to me. Dear Surveyor, it said, on no account let Bob, our black cat, into the house, as Polly, our valuable and highly strung parrot, is loose in the front bedroom. Thank you. Now you tell me. Before I had time to put the note down, I heard the most awful squawking and commotion coming from above. Fearing the worst, I galloped up the stairs and into the master bedroom where my worst fears were confirmed. Bob the cat was on the carpet with a mouthful of colourful feathers, and Polly was perched on the end of a curtain rail with not as much plumage as it had started the day with. Not a scenario I had encountered before, but I thought it would be best to retrieve the feathers first and evict Bob, who instantly took refuge under the bed. Anyone who has pulled cats from under beds will know what happened next.
Oh, yeah.
The long, sharp claws came out and embedded themselves into the back of my hands. Despite my injuries, I remained stoic. I managed to extricate Bob and retrieve the feathers. Bob then left the premises, shall we say, unwillingly. Several long feathers in my hand, I cautiously approached poor old Polly, still alive, who seemed stunned and somewhat traumatized by events. I'm actually quite an artistic person, Father Simon. I can also make calming sounds with my mouth. And so therefore... Look at that one.
So is this what you're going to do now?
Yeah.
Great. Sound very calming.
No, not really. It sounds quite aggressive.
Yeah.
Anyway, it worked because Polly became quite passive and quite happy for me to slowly insert each feather back into the bird to fill up the gaps in its foliage.
That's not how it works. Surely.
Not necessarily the right feather in the right gap, but by the time I finished, it looked like a parrot. Whether or not it would ever fly again, I was never to find out. I suspect it was a dab hand at flying around clockwise and not going the other way around. I left Polly looking puzzled but upright and with most of its feathers intact, and breathed a sigh of relief that it was hopefully a speechless bird who would not drop me in it when the owners came back home. Just to be sure, I said, "Who's a pretty boy then?" and left. But I do need forgiveness, especially from Polly, but not Bob, the vicious cat, nor their daft owners, who should have pinned the warning note to the outside of the door.
Yes.
Yeah.
No good telling me once I'm inside. I mean, is there? Come on, let's use some common sense, owners. Anyway, let's speak up on behalf of surveyors. Let's see what Sister Susie says.
Well, I was with Mike for quite a while there because, yes, he's right. What good is the note inside the house because the cat's probably already run through because he knows the bird's upstairs. Also, why are you leaving the bird out when you know a surveyor's come in who's going to open your door, or even just not when you're home? Just put them in a cage, put them back wherever they live.
I think that seems fair.
Free roam around the house. But it was the point where he started inserting the feathers back into Polly that he lost me, and for that whatever he did to that poor bird, I can't forgive him.
I think, Matt, you said, I don't think that's how it works. But if the feathers come out, maybe you can put them back in.
No.
Maybe you can. We don't know, do we? We're not experts in parrots.
I know that much.
But I'm going to forgive, because as we've all pointed out, what's the point in putting that note in the hallway? It needs to be on the front door. And also, as Suze points out, what's the bird doing roaming free? Highly strung or not, it needs to be in its cage.
Yes.
Maybe that's why it's highly strung, is because it's all out and doing its thing. And that's not good when you've got a cat that's determined to hunt it down. And he did his best, didn't he, with the feathers? Maybe it worked, maybe it didn't. We don't know. So no, I'm going to forgive. He was just doing his job, wasn't he? Went above and beyond. There goes my voice. Never mind. Definitely forgiven.
It was just doing
Oh,
made
it's cool in the
absolutely
gang.
no sense
Right.
at all. Yeah, it's just the idea of sticking feathers back into a parrot.
Someone will tell us that works. Someone will.
Someone
Yeah,
might do.
yeah.
Anyway, people's verdict, please. 61054. We had a confession just before the news from Mike, a surveyor's estate agent, and a story about a cat, a parrot, and some reinstalled feathers. After a little bit of a scuffle, the people's verdict is in. Here we go.
Forgiven, says Georgie in Portsmouth. Who leaves a parrot out of its cage when someone random's coming to survey the house? That seems like a disaster waiting to happen. What about the cat? What if the parrot flew out the front door? So careless of the owners. Alison B in a very soggy fleet says forgiven. The surveyor didn't see the parrot fully feathered, so someone may have stuck the feathers back in before.
That's
Could
true.
have happened previously. And Graham in Grantham says forgiven. It is possible to put a feather back into a parrot through a specialised veterinary technique called imping. This involves attaching a new feather to the shaft of a broken one. It's often used to restore flight capability in birds without waiting months for a natural molt. So forgiven.
Well, that sounds interesting, but that doesn't sound as though that's what Mike did.
He was imping. I think that's what he was doing.
Did he attach a new feather to the shaft of a broken
the shaft
one?
of the old one?
I don't think he did that.
Well done. Well
I
done,
don't think
Graham.
he was just making it up as he
Yes.
went along.
Yeah.
Thank you very much indeed for the verdicts. Thank you for the confessions. Send yours, please, to confessions@greatesthitsradio.co.uk. Well, it's 14 minutes to 6 o'clock. Greatest Hits Radio with some Dire Straits with Sting and Money for Nothing. Cue the drinks trolley, and here we go with a fine selection for everyone to take part in. What have we got today, Suze? What are you offering us?
Well, I thought if people are still doing kind of extended dry January, or some people do dry February because it's shorter, Athletic Brewing do a very nice IPA, Run Wild, alcohol-free, tasty beer, even though it's alcohol-free, so it's delicious.
All right, very good. Order an extra crate for Matthew. He'll be very, very pleased.
All of them, yeah.
Today's confession, I think it's a PG-12. It's that kind of area. From the anonymous agent of East Anglia.
Okay.
That's just from the anonymous agent. Simon in the Confessional Collective, after 38 years of hiding from the issue, I feel it's time to ask your collective forgiveness for a sin that has haunted me for far too long. As a 20-something graduate from the esteemed Royal Agricultural College in Cirencester.
Oh, it's one of those, is it?
It is, yes. I started my career in the tweedy world of country house and rural estate property sales. No day went by without an invitation to the old rectory here or the manor house there, the kind of place I imagine Holly lives in. But what really made my days were invitations to country estates with sprawling mansions, stable blocks, estate cottages for housing minions, and rolling acres of land to indulge the owner's passions. I feel the time is right to explain my need for forgiveness. It is to do with an invitation back in the late 80s to advise on the sale of a particularly beautiful country estate on the Essex-Suffolk borders. Knowing it already by repute, this was the kind of property about which estate agents salivate. Well, a date was set. The standard issue Black Golf GTI was washed, and we were off. Off with my colleague, who for the purposes of this tale we'll call Nobby. Nobby and I sped off at high speed to meet two other, rather more senior colleagues, we'll call them Mike and Mark, at the aforesaid quintessential East Anglian country estate. They were coming from one office, and we were coming from the other, hence two cars, which is somewhat crucial to this haunting tale. Mike and Mark were more experienced than Nobby and I, and they held a stiff resolve to win the sale of any property to which they were invited. Upon arrival at said estates, quintessential Georgian manor house, I drew my trusty GTI to a crunching, gravelly halt beside the red Audi from which Mike and Mark were already alighting. Straightening our ties and shining our shoes on our trouser legs, we proceeded to pull the bell beneath the columned portico to announce our arrival. Within seconds, we were warmly welcomed by the delightful owner, a retired colonel sporting cavalry twills and guard's tie, and following a full tour of the house and gardens, we retired to the library to take tea. Much was discussed, the merits of glossy advertising and the value of a full printed brochure where pithy descriptions of the vestibule, veranda and vistas and anything else beginning with V would be embellished. This was all ingratiatingly delivered in our very best drawing room manner. Fully sustained by much tea and cake, it was time for Mike, Mark, Nobby and I to take our leave and, at the request of the Colonel, to look in on the farmyard on our way back to our offices to ensure we were fully versed with all the modern farming facilities the estate had to offer. Uttering our gracious goodbyes to the Colonel, we softly crunched our way to our cars, Mike and Mark to the red Audi, Nobby and I to the trusty GTI. And then whoosh up the drive Nobby and I went with the GTI flexing its muscles. We rapidly left the feeble red Audi for dust, and several minutes later Nobby and I found ourselves at the farmyard. Now, Simon, it was at this point that a wild idea came upon me, and for which I seek much forgiveness. With the dexterity of a gazelle, I leapt into the road and did what came naturally to the Cirencester Royal Agricultural College grad. I dropped my trousers. I flicked up my jacket tail and bore my best side to the oncoming red Audi. Nobby giggled. Now let me take you to the scene. After a little time holding a firm stance, I sensed that Nobby's giggling had come to an abrupt halt and was followed by a high-pitched shriek. I can see 3 heads in the car coming, not 2. My world seemed to stand still. It wasn't just Mike and Mark in the red Audi. In the passenger seat sat the Colonel, squinting his eyes to focus upon the apparition revealing his best side in the centre of the road. Clearly the Colonel had decided to join us to inspect the farmyard. Leaping to the roadside and wrenching at my trousers, the Audi passed me by, revealing the said 3 passengers, all bearing different facial expressions. Mike, stony-faced. Mark, overtaken by giggles. The Colonel, wide-eyed and clearly mystified. Simon, time has elapsed, but my shame endures. It was made clear that if the instruction from the Colonel to sell the estate was lost, I would be seeking alternative employment. However, amazingly, we won the day.
What?
And the Situations Wanted column within the Surveyor's Weekly did not witness my already prepared application for a new position. I therefore take pride that the Colonel saw something in me that swung the day. It is for this deed that I now... Are you complaining about the...
No.
It is for this deed that I now seek the collective team's words of forgiveness. Yours in anticipation, the anonymous agent of East Anglia. Well, it's a kind of a bawdy tale.
Wow, that was good.
Nice.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I'd rehearsed on that.
You
one.
had the boxing gloves.
done.
Yeah. Anyway,
So this is standard estate agent fare, isn't it? It's
Yes.
certainly standard fare from the agricultural college in my humble experience. But anyway, Susie, what do you say disapprovingly to our anonymous estate agent?
Yeah, I am disapprovingly, because it's quite childish behaviour, aren't you?
Yes.
You're professionals, and for that reason alone, I can't forgive you. Sorry.
No forgiveness there, Brother Matthew.
it was a bit of rush of blood to the head, wasn't it? Where I mean, what possibly possessed him to drop his trousers? Who knows? But the Colonel was fine with it turned out, and gave them the commission anyway.
He did.
I mean, he must have been a bit desperate. Literally no one else was going to sell the house for him, apparently. So, so everyone's forgiven, everyone's happy, aren't they?
Are they okay? So
Yes.
that's all right.
Yeah,
okay,
forgiven.
so
Yeah,
forgiveness, courtesy
Fine.
of Matthew. Okay, well that's fine, but nothing from Susie. So it's down to the people's verdict to adjudicate. What would you say to the anonymous agent of East Anglia? Because it's the people's verdict. Forgiven or no? 61054. First word is Simon. But before we go any further, let's sort out the confession, because it came from the anonymous estate agent of East Anglia, who had a great job because of a possible sale from a retired colonel's very prestigious estate. It was going very well. So obviously his final act was to drop his trousers. That's the estate agent. Just as the colonel came into view, with hilarious consequences. He didn't lose his job either. Anyway, what do we get for the people's verdict?
Everyone's forgiving tonight. Donna on the Isle of Wight says, absolutely forgiven, not laughed so much for ages. Ruth says, forgiven. My partner went to agricultural college, and believe me, that was pretty tame.
Yeah,
Adam from Lichfield says, I think I'm going to forgive this one. The colonel decided to see the funny side of the situation and decided to turn the other cheek, even if the anonymous agent didn't.
I thought you'd be attracted to that one.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you have a confession inspired by today's. We would really love to find out what it is. Send it to confessions@greatesthitsradio.co.uk. Anyway, what we need is a little drink to take us onwards into the world of confessions. What have you got from the trolley today, Susie?
Well, I am going to suggest a pint of something that's hopefully getting installed in the pub tomorrow. It's called Black Gates. It's a night show stout, 4.1%. Matt, you'll like this. It uses Fuggles and Phoenix hops.
Oh, my favourite hops again.
Yeah, Fuggles is a good one. It's basically, think Guinness, but not Guinness. It's very nice, and one for maybe the rugby, if you're watching it.
Oh, yeah.
Six Nations.
Six Nations this weekend, everyone. Starts tonight, in fact.
I heard your preview, yes.
Yeah.
Today's confession comes from Steve. Thank you, Steve, for this tale. Simon and the Forgiving Collective, well, maybe just Matt.
Okay.
Yeah.
My
Probably.
tale takes me back to my student days in the 1980s. The 27th of February, 1984,
Wow.
to be precise. I was studying hard at the University of Kent, where much of my time was spent at the university radio station UKC Radio. I was doing pretty much the same thing a few years earlier. There's a lot of work, there's a lot of studies to do, but then there's the radio station
course.
Of course,
to
nice.
to experiment with. Bands would often play gigs at one of the 4 colleges, and one of my jobs was to try to grab 5 minutes with the band before the gig for a quick interview. Most bands were extremely accommodating. Level 42, Billy Bragg, Paul Young and the Q-Tips, UB40, Pig Bag, and so on.
Wow.
And they were all very happy. They gave me the interview. On this particular night, a relatively new band from Manchester, my hometown, were performing. I'd heard their first single, Hand in Glove, and I loved it. We decided we would go along with mic stands and a portable recorder to try and get 5 minutes with their enigmatic lead singer, Morrissey, because this was indeed the Smiths.
Yeah.
There were 2 rooms allocated to the band in the college. The first room had trestle tables with various drinks, which the band had, with the band in the second room behind the other door. The manager kindly said that we could set up in the room with the refreshments, but could not promise anything at this moment, as he had yet to speak to the band themselves as to whether they would do the interview. As we were setting up, I noticed quite a large amount of fruit on one of the tables, including a rather large and spectacular grapefruit. It seemed an odd choice, and I mentioned this to the manager, who explained that this was a particular favourite of Morris's. He would never do anything, go anywhere without a grapefruit. He said that they would pop in and talk to the band to see if we were in luck. He returned saying Morrissey would not be talking to us as a surprise.
Wow.
But Johnny Marr and Andy Rourke would be happy to give us an
nice.
interview. We spent a good 15 minutes with the 2, thanked them profusely, and started to pack up. As we were putting mic stands back in bags, along with cables and so on, I decided to remove the grapefruit and pop it into the bag, along with the rest of our equipment. I think the word you're looking for there, Steve, is stole.
Yes, stole. You stole the grapefruit.
I'd almost finished packing the bag when Morrissey entered the room. He goes over to the table, looks around, looks mopey, and returns to the other room with the rest of the band. And it's at this point that we heard raised voices, including Mr. Marr, saying that he had not touched the grapefruit.
Oh, dear.
And Mr. Morrissey not believing him. I mean, of all the things for there to be banned stress about, where's my grapefruit?
Who's been at my grapefruit?
Where's my grapefruit?
The implications of my theft is there for all to see. Obviously, I wish to apologise, not to Morrissey. He could have easily given me a 5-minute interview, but to Johnny Marr. who seemed to get it in the neck because it was assumed that he had rearranged the grapefruit. I wonder if this was the start of the breakup of the Smiths. Am I in some way responsible? My Little Wheeze hastened the end of one of the bands of the 80s and all over a grapefruit. A bit like Adam and Eve and the apple, maybe. No.
Not at all.
Not like that.
But somehow not.
Wow, Steve.
I would also like to apologise to my co-interviewer for the stress I caused him on the night. I won't mention his name as he went on to work for many a year at a national commercial radio station. I've now retired from my very responsible job in education and would never advocate any of my pupils. I would never think any of my pupils that I taught behave in such an irresponsible manner like stealing fruit from rock stars. Hopefully Matt will find it in his heart to forgive. I bet he's not a fan of grapefruit anyway.
No, he's not.
Are you not?
No, of course he isn't.
What a waste. I love grapefruit, but I'm not allowed to have it, of course. Okay, well, let's check. I mean, a lot of exciting moving parts in this tale. Early 80s, student radio, the Smiths, and a bowl of fruit.
Yeah, definitely. Now, you could say maybe the university should have provided more than one grapefruit and maybe there wouldn't have been an issue. However, I'm going to say, Steve, you knew that those grapefruits were for Morrissey, and I think you took it just because he didn't give you an interview.
Yes.
And for that reason, I think it's a bit mean, because also Johnny Marr was always going to get it in the neck there, wasn't he? Because who else was going to get the blame? And therefore, he was nice to you, and I think you weren't nice back in some sort of way. So I'm not going to forgive you.
You can't steal fruit from rock stars, Matthew.
Can you not? It's another life lesson. And I'm going to say forgiven. I mean, why didn't Morrissey question Steve? Steve was the one in the room. Should have said, "Where's my grapefruit? Is that in your bag?" And there's a grapefruit in the bag. So because Morrissey didn't have the nerve, did he, to question Steve, and decided to take it all out on Johnny Marr. Once again, I find myself on Johnny Marr's side of the fence there. So grapefruit in a coma. I'm going to say forgiven.
Is that right?
Yes.
Doesn't work.
It definitely works. Grapefruit in a coma. What difference does it make after all?
Maybe
Such
that's
a
the origin
charming
of
man.
Heaven Knows I'm Miserable Now.
Oh, yes, it's getting even better.
Okay, is the people's verdict please? Do you forgive Steve for his grapefruit and Smith's confession? Together at last. 61054. First word is Simon. Just before the news, a confession from Steve. The University of Kent radio station, UKC Radio, and an attempt to interview the members of the Smiths band. Morrissey said no. The rest of the band said yes, okay. But Steve stole Morrissey's grapefruit and there was band tension. And in fact, Johnny Marr was blamed for hiding the grapefruit. Anyway, the people's verdict, here it comes.
Not forgiven, says John. Who steals a grapefruit? Completely pointless.
Steve.
And meant it caused friction within the band. Sasha
Why
in
is it
Chester.
pointless to steal a grapefruit if you like grapefruit?
Exactly, take that up with John. Sasha in Chester says forgiven. I'm sure Morrissey could buy himself a new grapefruit.
Right.
But Vivian says not forgiven. No wonder the band broke up. It's after events like these. You can't just steal food from the dressing room.
No, I suppose that's true.
Sensible.
I suppose so. Thank you very much for the verdicts. Thank you for the confession. Send yours to confessions@greatesthitsradio.co.uk.